thank you for sharing your Bema tonight, Michael. And Michael, you sing. I like the singing. I didn't know about the clapping, so I was a little reserved. But the singing, whoa, good singing. And is it happy? Is that? Yeah, that's so cute. I really like that. Oh, and you are. You just smile radiates. No wonder you have that name. Greetings from all of WRJ, from our president, Lynn Magid-Lazar, and our executive director, Rabbi Marla Feldman. So, this week, we have yet another well-known Torah story. In this one, the 12 spies are sent out by Moses to scout a new land. Is it filled? Oh, she's so cute, I could eat her up. Is it filled with milk and honey, as God had promised, or is it barren? What are the native people like? Shall Israel move forward on its way or stay put? What do the reports tell us? Well, as many of you I'm sure know, no surprise, they're Jews, they don't agree. 10 responded, 10 of those spies, that it was a land of milk and honey, but the people, they were like giants and we Jews were like little grasshoppers. Okay, personally, I don't think Jews were ever like grasshoppers. We're neither hoppy nor flighty, but we're tenacious and determined, so that didn't fly for me. Those 10 spies are what we might call pessimists. They see the water glass half empty. Joshua and Caleb, names you should know, reported very differently. They saw challenges, but they grasped potential. They were the risk takers who saw the future completely open to them, their families, and descendants. They were the optimists who see a water glass half full. Now, I haven't scouted any land recently, and unless any of you do survey work, I doubt that you've been scouting either. However, tonight, let's use Torah as a metaphor and investigate what the parasha has to say to us. Every day, we, our friends and family, meet challenges because life is filled with challenges. Who among us literally hasn't climbed what seemed like, at the time, the tallest mountain? For those of you who are parents, there's a relevant adage that goes something like this, and I'll watch your heads to see if you agree. On any given day, you're only as happy as your least happy child. Yep, there's no, you want me to say that one again? You're only as happy as your least happy child. Yes, we know that life has lumps and bumps. As human beings, however, we have choices about the roads we take. We might not necessarily have control over what happens in our life, but we absolutely control our responses. We can stay a course that's relatively smooth. All right, I'm going to admit, as a wife, a business partner, a mom, and a bubbio, I admit liking days that are turmoil-free. I appreciate the infrequent days that don't have drama, health issues, an office emergency, or family strife. In fact, on those days, I turn to my husband, David. He knows exactly what I'm going to say. David, we have to remember today all the planets are aligned, and we need to mark it with a big red flag. Remember this day. They don't come along too often, appreciate them. But you know what, as much as I like smooth, I also remember a bestseller whose title read, "If it ain't broke, break it." After all, I did try to teach my daughters that life is about challenges, meeting them and overcoming them and learning from them. So, point of fact, we would never be sitting here celebrating Shabbat in Memphis, Tennessee, if our nation's founders hadn't had the determination to establish a country whose policies were different than the Europe where they had lived. What if our grandparents or our great-grandparents had decided not to risk what life they knew despite what it was like? What if the ocean seemed too mysterious? What if that new land in America wasn't filled with such golden paved streets? Where would we all be at this very moment if our forebears stood back and only contemplated the what-ifs with a negative attitude? What if they saw the water glass half empty? The reality is that they saw and took risks because they really focused on those abundant opportunities. Yes, they didn't see with rose-colored glasses. They knew there were going to be challenges, but their optimism was contagious. Their vision was filled with the promise of a better life. Our Bubbies and our Zadies seized possibilities like Joshua and Caleb. Are we ready now to continue that legacy? To try new venues? To potentially adapt to a very new Jewish landscape in the future? To find new ways to build Jewish community? I can tell you that women in the early 20th century grabbed a moment when they saw life changing. Women of Reform Judaism will celebrate our centennial, 100 years. Imagine that, 100 years of accomplishments and achievements beginning in January 2013. From January's kickoff at our dynamic Freed Leadership Conference, our keynote speaker is Rabbi Elka Abramson, the president of the Wexner Foundation, to March's global Centennial Shabbat. What's so special about that Shabbat service? So happens we have WRJ board members whose daughters are rabbis, and together 3 sets of mothers and rabbi daughters are writing services together. We're going to follow that immediately and come along with us, a trip to Israel and Germany, the birthplace of Reform Judaism. In June, we're going to have a centennial academic symposium in New York City at historic Temple Emmanuel. Dr. Gary Zola from the American Jewish Archives and Carol Balin from Hebrew Union College, Jewish Institute of Technology, and I think there are 13 or 14 scholars writing about WRJ. The keynote that day will be Dr. Jonathan Sarna, the premier American Jewish historian. There will be weekly moments that will tell little factoids. I'm putting that one in about the teenager thing and the 20, I didn't know that one. I could go on, but you know what? That's not what's important and connected to this portion. What I want to convey tonight is that a handful of women gathered together in Cincinnati in 1913 to create the first congregationally based Jewish women's organization. It was named the National Federation of Temple Sisterhoods, and we call it Women of Reform Judaism today. They were determined matriarchs. Let me tell you, they were staunch, they were smart. We didn't even have the right to vote. Can you imagine? And they formed a global organization. Most women didn't play roles out in public beyond their own homes. But our founding mothers focused on extraordinary possibilities. You know what they did? They established committees, they organized themselves, they elected officers. First thing, they gave rabbinic scholarships. Second, they wanted to bring art, Jewish art, into homes, and they created our art calendar. And the third thing was to act on their Jewish values. The first resolution passed was about immigration. To mark Shabbat Shalach Lecha, consider this. If you had been a spy in those ancient days, or your Bubby, or your Zadie, or a founding matriarch of Women of Reform Judaism, would you have visioned the future like the 10 or the 2? Which of the spies? Which road would you have chosen? Which road will you choose today? May your personal Jewish journey glow with optimism and enlightenment. May you live out your Jewish values and strengthen the Jewish people every day. May you be the optimist, a 21st century emissary of the Jewish people who sees endless possibilities, dreams big dreams, and then sets about to fulfill them, as we all say, Amen. Shabbat Shalom.